Okay, I think we're live. Hi, everybody. This is the Vast Right Wing Conspiracy. I'm hoping that I'm not frozen and that my two colleagues joining me today can see me moving around at
Oh,
regular speed.
do you want the good news or the bad news?
Let's go with the bad news first.
Okay, well, the bad news is you're not on the screen at all, but the good news is we can hear you.
Yeah.
Fantastic. I'll take it. You know what?
Actually, this is actually funny because when you're actually talking and you should be on the screen, you're not. But when someone else is talking, we could actually see you in a small picture.
Weird.
I love technology.
Okay.
You have a great profile shot, though. It's a good side.
Thank you. That's
Your face.
not in. It's one of my better shots. Should have kept that look going, but I had to return the tux. Anyway, so we are coming. It's okay.
Perfect.
First of all, it's me, Joe Cunningham. You can find me on Twitter at JoeC_Esquire, and yes, it is safe to follow me. I am not a lawyer. Also joining me, John Brodigan, who you can find at. We also have joining us Tim Young at, what's your Twitter handle?
Tim runs his mouth. Make it seem more like you have no clue who I am. That's the best part. Tim, last name, can't figure it out. That
Yeah. Sorry, I'm kind of thrown off by how awkward the pay-per-view we're following was run. It's
So
a,
bad.
Segue.
It's a great segue. Yeah. So, Money in the Bank now over, and we can officially talk about it. Tim is shaking his head, and as the official guest of the show for this episode, I will turn to him first. Tim, how did you feel about this one?
It was so bad. Okay, both the. Let's go with the latter matches. Like, why is Sheamus the Money in the Bank winner? Why is Sheamus in any kind of championship picture whatsoever? I don't understand that. And I like having Bray Wyatt and maybe lifting up Roman Reigns at this point, because Roman Reigns to me has been boring for months. But Sheamus, it's kind of like, what is going on? And I just don't understand it. Let's start with that one, and I guess we can debate back and forth. But overall, this was like a C- pay-per-view for me. I just couldn't get into it. I couldn't. Nothing was thrilling. I mean, the pay-per-view was, and it's a C- because of Kevin Owens and John Cena. That was your A+. Everything else was a fail for me.
Well, I mean, to me, it was the same as Elimination Chamber, where the two Elimination Chambers were like the people in it were like the most disappointing Elimination Chambers ever.
Yes.
The same way with this Money in the Bank match, and in both pay-per-views, if it wasn't for Owens versus Cena and Ambrose versus Rollins, I would have nothing to talk about right now.
What match?
Let's start at the beginning, which I want to start at the very beginning, because to me, the moment they introduced the Spanish announce team, and I saw that it was the Money in the Bank match coming up first, I figured that the Spanish announce table was going to go at the beginning of the pay-per-view, which would have been a nice little change of pace, but it didn't, and that really upsets me almost as much as Sheamus being the Money in the Bank winner. I don't understand that one either. Sheamus is what we're calling them, and he hasn't really done anything outstanding. There's no reason to see why he's back in the title picture. It would have been nice for him to work his way back up, but instead we have Sheamus holding the contract, and that's and some of the action in the match was great. I really enjoyed that Randy Orton was passing out RKOs like party favors, or a friend of mine, and that beautiful off the ladder RKO to Neville was one of the high points. But overall, I'm not sure that. And again, last week we talked a lot about creative and the booking and stuff, Brodigan, and once again, I don't see the reasoning behind this one.
But the problem is, it's the way they do it, where there really is no reasoning. Brock Lesnar versus Sheamus, meh. Seth Rollins versus Sheamus, meh. And outside of that, there's not even anyone else I can picture with the heavyweight title, unless they finally they give it to Roman Reigns and they do, and we'll get to him later, the Dusty finish. No, this wouldn't be the Dusty finish. I take that back. But they do the finish where right after Reigns wins, they have Sheamus come out. And then we have a really exciting Roman Reigns versus Sheamus feud.
Tim, how about you?
Do you think that would be exciting though, Roman Reigns versus Sheamus?
No, I think sarcastic.
Okay, I was gonna say like why can't they put Bray Wyatt in the Money in the Bank ladder match? Didn't he have a huge pop? What ladder match was he in when the crowd went crazy last year when he almost grabbed? Was it Money in the Bank last year?
Yeah, no, that was in the Hell in a Cell match. No, wait. I don't remember. Let me Google that.
Or was it the Intercontinental title match? No.
Money in the Bank 2014.
Whatever match he was in, the crowd really popped. I mean, could you imagine having Bray Wyatt with the case? That would be fun. He doesn't need it. He's probably the last person that needs it in WWE right now. But you look at the field, you know Dolph Ziggler's not going to get it. I kind of knew you had to kind of see that a swerve was going to come on Roman Reigns. There was nobody here that I wanted to see with the case. And what face is going to beat Seth Rollins? Do you eventually have Dean Ambrose take it? It seems like, and we'll get to that in a second, it seems like they're ending that feud. Is that what they're doing here? Do you think they're going to continue that feud?
I don't see them continuing it, but I also don't see who Ambrose fights next.
I don't either. There's a serious lack of just storyline consistency. There's nothing coming up. I don't. I feel like they're missing 3 or 4 main eventers somewhere here. Like, can they just go buy some people from? I mean, who's left? You can bring in AJ Styles. Like, pump up Samoa Joe soon? Like, what's left for WWE right now?
Honestly, now that you brought it up, Ambrose versus Samoa Joe would be a sick feud.
It would be.
Okay, now I want to see that match. That's definitely a match I want to see. Samoa Joe, Dean Ambrose, WWE, make that happen.
Let's see if it's happened already.
I'm sure it has. Did you ever see, by the way, I think that one of the best matches I ever saw was, and I forget what name, what was Dean Ambrose's past life name?
John Moxley.
Yes, the dinner table match where they set up a dinner table in the ring, and he and his opponent were smashing each other over the head with plates, and they were completely busted up. Did you guys ever get a chance to see that?
I did not. I've been to one CZW show in my life, and I've been afraid to go back.
That one match, the dinner table match, I would have watched 4 times instead of this pay-per-view.
So is this pay-per-view really that bad? Because there were, like I said, there were some good moments in the Money in the Bank. Each was one of the top ones. I actually watched the Divas match this time and I thought the way they kind of wrote that ending was appropriate given how I think stupid the whole Divas division is right now. And it's not because I'm sexist or anything, but because I genuinely find like the only ones who are interesting are Paige, and I think Alicia Fox's crazy character was probably the most interesting thing they had going for them for a while, and she's like disappeared again. You see Layla in the back. She's not doing anything right now. And the Divas division is boring. You have the Bellas going back to the whole twin magic thing, which is even more awkward now that Brie has to stuff her tank top in order to really pull off the twin magic thing, which I thought was probably one of the better moments in that match as well, as when she's pulling the paper or whatever. I'm not really Nikki, as if we really needed to know that.
That was the spot of the evening. That's the spot of the Divas division for the past 3 months, was her pulling tissues out of her bra.
That was actually, I thought that was funny.
It was.
It was a nice, if you're gonna do the dusty, that was a dusty finish. If you're gonna do the dusty finish, have someone pulling tissues out of her bra.
I think that is a good match, and also end all. Right before that match, when Paige said, "For you, Dusty," how did you guys? Because I know the big thing hanging in the air right now is the passing of Dusty Rhodes, and there were some good tributes. I think the Ambrose Rollins spot for it, the bionic elbow off the ladder, was pretty good. But what about something like Paige saying, "For you, Dusty"? How did you guys feel about that one?
I thought it was good. I think that I mean, we'll talk more about Dusty later, but I think, on Raw, you're going to see, like, the basic tributes where, he was a legend, blah, blah, blah. I mean, not blah, 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 he actually was a legend. But I think next week, when you see the first NXT show from when they tape the new tapings, then it's going to be really emotional, because that's where he's been for the past couple of years. And, everyone from NXT, from Seth Rollins from the Authority on down that's come up from NXT, has a stronger connection with Dusty Rhodes than like anyone on the current roster does. And like I said, I think that's going to be where you see the really emotional tributes.
Yeah, I thought that was good. I mean, and he worked with them on all their mic skills, and I think they mentioned that a couple of times tonight. But his work in NXT, he was the lead story writer there. What was his role in NXT?
I know he was the general manager for a while. I think Triple H is the head writer, so
yeah,
he did something.
Yeah, no, I actually am looking forward to the tribute tomorrow night. Brodigan, if CM Punk was there, he would have probably come out in black with yellow polka dots on his and an extra taped up elbow.
I've been talking about hot times.
He really was the greatest of all time, though. I shot you an email the other day when that happened, because that actually got to me. We're seeing all these guys when we grew up die now, and I guess that kind of hits you how old you are, not just...
Yeah.
I got to meet him and interact with him quite a lot, actually, when I ran the Nikolai Volkov for delegate campaign a few years ago, almost a decade ago now, in Maryland, and we would hang out backstage at SmackDowns and Raws when they would come to town, and Dusty was always a great guy. Like, nobody knows who I am backstage. I'm just standing around with Nikolai, and they had no reason to speak with me. And Dusty and I had many conversations. So,
see, I guess it was a little different for me, because I think I know you're from Austin originally.
No, I'm from Baltimore.
Baltimore, okay, but that's south-ish. I know.
Yeah.
And Joe's from Louisiana, and I think Dusty, because of the WCW thing, he'd be bigger down there. Like I've only seen Dusty Rhodes actually wrestle twice. Once was at SummerSlam when Sapphire turned on him, and the second time was against Steve Corino at one of the ECW pay-per-views. So and it's I mean, if this was like Bret Hart or Shawn Michaels, they'd be inconsolable. But you still someone like Dusty was the kind of guy where you can't not respect, because you've always got a sense of the history with him.
Mm-hmm.
And you saw a lot of difference, and I know that we're kind of transitioning early. We're not even done with the pay-per-view, or perhaps we are. We'll talk about Cena and Owens later, because that's really the only thing of note left. But when you saw the tribute to Dusty at the beginning, you got a much bigger showing on Dusty Rhodes than you did for the death of Paul Bearer, some of the other deaths in recent years. I think the closest we've had is maybe Ultimate Warrior, but still, I don't think you have the kind of showing, the kind of support from WWE performers and fans like you do for Dusty Rhodes. And I think that shows the major impact he had on the business, where I'm the youngest one here. I was growing up during the WCW years. Remember, this is a pretty awesome guy, and now here we are, and in the course of the last few days, I've talked to or heard from, people who, from my mother, who remembers seeing Dusty Rhodes, all the way through people who are a lot younger than me, who just remember seeing him performing in different ways in WWE, throughout, their young lives. So it's really interesting to see the kind of really encompassed it a whole lot. And I know, Brodigan, you pointed that one out. You were the first one I know who pointed that one out.
Okay, you froze up a little bit. What did I point out?
The Heyman tweet storm the other day.
Oh yeah, God. And okay, because I mean, and then this is something I didn't appreciate from until I saw the Bohemian Dead DVD, and that was exactly how far back he goes with the McMahon family. Which, I mean, because I live in New York, I should have figured it out, because he got to start at Madison Square Garden. Who else is he going to go back with? and how far back he went with Dusty Rhodes, which actually makes Dusty's ECW run make a lot more sense. And as soon as I was actually as soon as I heard that he passed, I must have checked Heyman's Twitter page at least 25 times that day, because I was waiting to hear what he had to say. But yeah, and he had what was the one quote that Heyman that Paulie had. Actually, I have it on this computer because I'm using it for a client tomorrow. He had one quote, Dusty Rhodes quote, that I really liked, and there's nothing more exciting than watching people look stuff up and read stuff.
That's what podcasts are all about.
Yes.
It's live streaming.
It works, especially it works really well on radio, let me tell you.
For the one viewer we have, they are enthralled.
Hello, Brian Griffiths. Don't act like you belong in the locker room. Know that they should be honored sharing the locker room with you. That, quite frankly, applies to all the things.
Yes. Oh, I think he's frozen up again, but I'll throw in that's something that I've carried in with comedy when I've had a chance to travel the country. That's something that you never act like you're a fan, always act like you're part of the team. Even though I'm a nobody and I've worked with a lot of incredible people, it's always acting like you belong, and that kind of advice really does hold up with everything. I mean, we've all been there, so.
No, it's actually kind of funny because I always like one of the reasons I like Ronda Rousey and someone like Stephen Amell so much is that sometimes you see the exact opposite. It's like when you see the celebrities, when you actually see them acting like they're fans just like you are. Because it's like the flip side goes on one hand, like as you're coming up, you have to act like you're already there, and when you're already there, you still catch yourself in those honest moments, acting like you're still coming up.
Yeah. No, it's interesting how that works. I guess he's frozen up. I guess.
Actually, apparently you could chat in Google Hangouts, and he just there was like a thought bubble over his picture that says he's.
Yeah, I'm still here, y'all. I'm letting you guys go because you guys are carrying the conversation much better than my awkward transitions would. So I'm letting y'all have this one. And again, because I'm younger, I don't have the backlog of knowledge that you guys have. I'm mostly speaking as somebody who's watching the contemporary stuff and somebody who's a background more in writing and seeing how this stuff from a plot point is developing. But I think when you look at the development of both Dusty Rhodes as a career and Dusty Rhodes as a character, you see just over the course of all the years he's been involved, a tremendous showing of real skill both on the mic, in the ring, and running the show. And I think that is really probably the best thing that we could say that Dusty Rhodes is just an all-around fantastic person that the industry has had. And there's not ever going to be another one. And I really think that even as he was getting up there in age and doing less and less, I still think that his absence is going to be one of the biggest that will be felt in the industry for several years.
Well, the other thing, too, that it's worth noting, I guess Kevin Steen Owens breaks the mold, too, but Dusty Rhodes was not this, cut, in-shape guy. He was just a normal guy, and I don't think we'll ever see anything like that again where somebody like that is pushed, maybe, Owens aside, to the top of a wrestling franchise.
Well, yeah, let's be honest. The only reason Samoa Joe has a contract right now is to prevent him from going back to Ring of Honor.
Yeah.
Because for the longest time they didn't want to sign him because of his physique, which is actually funny because all the muscle heads that Vince usually signs that he wants to build his company around, they to a person always seem to flame out. They brought Batista back. He went into Hollywood. Bobby Lashley didn't want to wrestle anymore. There are other examples that I unfortunately can't think of right now.
They had a huge push for Chris Masters when he first started. There was a humongous push for him. The 20-minute intro that he had.
Until after the second time you get popped for steroids or substance abuse.
Well, speaking of Kevin Owens, that is a good way to transition back into the pay-per-view for what I think all three of us can agree was the best match of the night.
Yes.
And as we talked about last week, Brodigan, I don't think I didn't going in think there was a whole lot of sense in doing the Owens win, then the Cena win, and then having the rubber match of the next thing. But watching the match these two put on, I'll allow it, because simply these two guys worked fantastically together, and I think really you really got the sense they were pushing each other to the limit. And I think the apron bomb at the end after the match really sealed the deal that, yeah, this is going to be a really good rivalry to keep going. Now, does it, with the way Cena feuds go, three special events or pay-per-views or whatever, and that's it. But I wouldn't mind seeing more between these two, because their styles are so different. Their physiques, we were just talking about, are so different. Owens is the bigger guy, and he has a very innovative way of using that size, whereas Cena is the ripped, cut, superhero-looking guy, the broken character that he is. We saw the closest Cena will ever be to actually being a heel when he was arguing with the ref. That's it. That's all his broken character can do. But to see that going up against this very untraditional-looking Kevin Owens, I think, is a feud worth continuing and a feud worth seeing these two fight out over and over again. Tim?
Yeah, and I'm glad that they have billed Owens as, the hard worker and the guy who just really, you just can't beat him. The only person who can beat him is Super Cena, and you saw that again here, where it took, it was just a great match. There's nothing more to really say about it from my side. I'm so impressed by this feud. It's the stuff that, I didn't know much of him before he came into WWE. I went back and watched a lot more of his stuff, and this is consistently the type of great match that Kevin Steen Owens, I like Kevin Steen better than Owens, it sounds better, has done for years and has entertained people with for years. So I really feel like Cena has to elevate himself to keep up with Owens, and he's done it. He's the guy to do it. My problem is the only thing there's one thing that I didn't like about this. I really thought that at the very end, when they spent all that time walking Cena to the back, I thought Owens was going to come out and nail him again, which I think would have been a nice touch.
Definitely.
But other than that, once this feud is over, and it'll go probably at least one more match, where does Owens go from this?
Well, see, this is what I think might be interesting, because this match also, and I think I either tweeted this or I think I tweeted Joe about this, where I love how Cena is so good, and it's actually funny for all the complaining you do about Cena, but when you actually see how good he is, it's just he's good. In these matches like this, where he'll like subtly play the heel, he did it Punk in Chicago, and a match I forgot about, him versus Rob Van Dam at ECW One Night Stand.
Oh yeah,
where he went full heel, and like the infamous if Cena wins we riot sign, which I've just been quoting for the past 10 years, and if anything happens, someone's always going to riot, just because that amuses me to say so. But what I'm actually wondering with the Kevin Steen thing, Steen, you can put Steen against anyone, but if maybe this is going to be more like Punk, where that's what I was thinking, where Punk won Money in the Bank and he won SummerSlam, and then but they just kept going back to it occasionally, and eventually, of course Cena got his win back because they had to set for The Rock, but it wasn't like the best of three best of three Cena feud like they normally did, where they had two really good matches and then they took a couple months off and they would just occasionally go back to it. And I'm wondering, hoping they're gonna do something like that, because not that the internet means anything, but the couple things I've been reading, I think that people at least recognize that they can't do the basic Cena feud with this. Whether or not that means that they're not gonna do the basic Cena feud, we'll find out.
Yeah, the only thing, and he doesn't need it again, man. It's so much. A couple of years ago, I felt like Money in the Bank, the briefcase, was so much more fun than the way they've been booking it. But, man, it would have been fun to see a Kevin Owens or Kevin Steen. Let's stick with Owens because I'm losing my mind with it. Win that Money in the Bank briefcase and play around with it. Like, if that was booked, that's my fantasy booking on the side, that he could walk out and do the thing that he does now where he's like, not tonight, and beat somebody up.
I think that's a good point. And also, if there was any other that was going to come up, I think the next Money in the Bank would really do well with a Sami Zayn or a Finn Balor involved. I think that either one of those two coming up, being in the next Money in the Bank, or just being involved in some big match like that, where it is kind of like Neville was tonight, the new guy versus a ton of veterans in the ring, and watching them compete in that format. Now, Money in the Bank would be the best because you see new guy gets the chance, to do what he wants to do and ultimately become the champion, more than likely, unless he's stupid like Cena and announces it early. Or if he's like Damian Sandow, gets one of the best matches of his career but doesn't win the title from it. I think seeing those two, and those two are my current favorites in NXT for obvious reasons, but those two coming up and being a part of the main event of the title scene, I think is going to be the best thing that WWE has going for it, even when you have a very top-heavy roster as it is. And I think some of those guys like Big Show, I think Big Show is going to be in the next year or so probably pulling back a whole lot because there's not much left for him to do. I mean, he's had a very long career.
God, I hope so.
And I was trying to be nice, but he's had a very long career, and the time for Big Show to step back, and God help me, even Kane stepping back a little bit and making room for some of these younger guys coming in, these older veterans who step out and get out of the ring completely and take up behind the scenes roles or whatever.
Big Show is that at least with Mark Henry, he had a second act for a little bit when he was doing the House of Pain, but Big Show I was bored with 10 years ago, and he hasn't gotten more entertaining.
Big Show's arguably his best feud is who was it that crashed Big Show's dad's funeral and drove away with the casket?
Big Boss Man. That was terrible. Oh.
God bless Big Boss Man for making Big Show interesting. Good times were had by all of them.
I was so embarrassed for them for that.
Was that the one where he jumped on the casket and they drove off with him?
Yeah, that was it. That was definitely it. Big Boss Man has had some of the best, just absolute dick move moments in terms of feuds. I think the dog in the pasta with Al Snow was a great one, and the crashing the funeral and driving away with the casket. God bless Big Boss Man and God rest his soul. Anyway.
Sorry, the Big Boss Man. As growing up as a teenager, after he dropped the music, after he dropped the Big Boss Man theme, the Cole theme, I don't think he did anything. The only time I popped for him, the only time I marked out was when he came out to that theme and you thought he was going to go against the Corporation back in the day. One time. Other than that, as a kid, as a teenager, watching the Big Boss Man come out, when you hear the music, it's like cue the bathroom break. It's sort of like the Divas division now. I'm like, oh no, what is he doing now? Poor Boss Man.
Poor Boss Man. Anyway, but yeah, seeing some of these older guys who haven't done as much in the last few years, and for some reason it seems to be the big guys like Henry, Kane, Big Show, that step back and these younger guys come through. I think there is, as we talked about last week, as a lot of people are saying, there is a very bright future ahead for a lot of these stars coming up. And again, the moment we can see a big Finn Balor entrance on the big stage, I think is going to be, as a friend of mine puts it, you can call me Crayola because I will be marking out so hard.
But Finn Balor's entrance at WrestleMania with a long walk to the ring is going to be 80 minutes long.
And I'm fine with that. We're going to need a new Undertaker entrance at WrestleMania at some point. So
the slow crawl for 85 minutes when he gets to the ring.
If there are Terminators behind him, it would be even better. Anyway.
Well, yeah, I love the fact that the WrestleMania every year is now 8 hours long just because they need to make room for 4 hours of entrances.
Mm-hmm.
And Triple H and Undertaker are obviously the best at having these long, overly produced, overly epic entrances that they're only there to add excitement and build toward a match, which is necessary. But even if you cut their entrances in half, you still have a 4-hour pay-per-view.
Yeah.
Speaking of pay-per-views, they talked about Battleground coming up, which has one confirmed match, and it's Roman Reigns versus Bray Wyatt. And I actually think this is the type of feud that both of these characters need, because Reigns, post-Rumble, has been very stale, and Wyatt has been...
Wyatt needs anything.
Yes.
I mean, Wyatt can make anything interesting.
Actually, that's not true. He did not make Ryback interesting. Which of course, Ryback's the one with the title now, but...
Well, there are certain limits to every person's superpowers, and Ryback is the kryptonite of Bray Wyatt's character. But
Ryback is like the universal donor kryptonite. He's like kryptonite type O. Doesn't matter who you put up against them, they're gonna suck.
But Bray Wyatt is arguably one of the most interesting characters on the main roster right now. And then you have Roman Reigns, who, to give him credit, his mic work has become a lot better, because Vince, I don't think, is feeding him lines anymore. And you have a really good chance now of a Wyatt Reigns feud, because Wyatt Reigns is nothing new as far as fights go, but seeing the two characters as they are now going at it, I think is going to be an interesting change of pace for them both, and arguably one that, no matter the outcome of the feud, is still going to get them both over in a big way. I know Wyatt's already over. That pop for him tonight proved it, but I don't think there's much bad that can come out of those two feuding. What about you, Tim?
I just want to hear Reigns say "suffer and succotash" again. Like, I thought that was the worst promo. If you want to bury somebody, have Vince tell him to say "suffer and succotash" at the end of a long line.
I actually started to feel bad for Roman Reigns, because it's almost like as bad as the audience was turning on him, that's how stubborn Vince got it. It's like Vince purposely made Roman Reigns as stupid as he possibly could, just to piss off the fans.
Yes.
And the more they boo, the stupider things they'd have Roman Reigns saying. I actually started to feel bad for him.
I felt bad for him through this entire Dean Ambrose feud right now. As he's walking out through the crowd, and Ambrose is the one with the belt, and you see a little glimpse of sadness in Roman. Like, this should be me, but now I'm relegated to being the bodyguard of a guy.
He was a sad, he was a sad clown inside.
I think this is going to be a good feud, though. I actually am excited to see Bray Wyatt against Roman Reigns. I think it'll be fun. I just hope that I don't see Bray Wyatt do any more interviews where he breaks character, which they've been doing a lot of. I've been seeing a lot of that circulating online, him doing normal rotunda interviews.
It's like when Undertaker does an out of character interview. It just seems really weird, and it totally shatters your image, because Bray Wyatt, in terms of performers, in terms of actual wrestlers, is, I think, far and away one of, if not the best on the mic right now. And anytime you hear him out of character, is kind of depressing.
It really is, because he's such a great character. I want them to hide him like the Undertaker, like how they really do maintain the Undertaker. I was on the Undertaker's 5K team about 6 months ago in Austin, and seeing him carrying his kids around and talking like a normal human being ruined my childhood immediately. It was just an immediate, it was the worst. Bray Wyatt, he's such a fun character to watch, but then when you see him out of character, it just ruins it. But this could be so much fun, because this is someone who shouldn't be able to be beaten with Roman Reigns, and then Bray Wyatt, who's out of his mind. I think it'd just be really fun to watch if they do it right.
Undertaker with his kids, that would kill me.
And Michelle McCool. It was a weird thing.
Kind of an awkward silence now, as we all have our childhoods ruined.
Yes.
It was the worst. But no, I really think this has the potential to do something great. I have so little faith in WWE executing this properly. I hope to God that they do.
Well, see, that's something the friend of mine who had the Crayola line.
Which, by the way, is the new tagline for the Right Ring Conspiracy. Call us Crayola because we mark out hard.
If we make any profit off of this strike, you're getting some money out of it. Anyway, I I think one of the most notable things about this year so far is that we've had some tremendous matches to come out of 2015 amid the most craptastic storylines
Yes.
I think we can remember. We've seen some fantastic fights, but the writing from the creative team just completely ruins any of the intensity of it because something's undone, something doesn't match up right, characters don't fit into the parts they're given, but the matches are really good.
Yeah, and you'd think they would learn from past mistakes. I think our biggest mistake or our biggest repeat story that we've seen and repeat flop that we've seen that's coming is, you guys, we can maybe take bets on it when we're going to see Rusev start to do dance contests in the ring, because I think that's going to be in the next probably couple of months.
Oh God. And the funny thing is, I mean, I was actually starting to get into the character because he was actually building him up. Like, I'm sorry, when he rode into WrestleMania in the back of a Jeep, that was badass.
It was awesome.
But yes, he's I even forget that guy's name. So not Savio Vega, Santino Morella's tag team partner.
Vladimir Kozlov.
Okay, yeah. He's gonna be winning dance contests because what else is he gonna do?
Nothing.
Okay.
And then you split off Lana from him, who also has nothing to do. She can't wrestle.
Well, yeah, she has something to do. Dolph Ziggler.
People, that he's a person, not a thing, Brodigan. Here's what I want to see, and I think they started building toward it, and then they have this whole injury thing. I would like to see Rusev build as like the communist Kurt Angle. Like that's like the ultimate thing I'd want to see. And they started it with the whole Russian Medal of Honor or whatever, and they were working toward the big Russian hero. I don't think they got to where it should be, because I really see him being pushed very well as like the anti-Kurt Angle with all the rumors they had. I think this is probably the answer to all the rumors they had that Kurt Angle was going to be coming back to the WWE, is just come up with a communist version of it and just run with it. And I think the ultimate moment, the best part of Rusev is that, and because we are the vast right-wing conspiracy, we can say this, the use of the images of Obama working out, all the different things where they made fun of Obama, I think really just kind of tugged at all three of our heartstrings. And I say three of our heartstrings because at least one of us doesn't have a heart because of our political affiliation. Anyway, but those kind of great things that made Kurt Angle the kind of character he was, and then doing the polar opposite of that. And that would make Rusev, I think, an interesting character, because like you guys said, yeah, he was getting interesting. And then he's kind of dropped off right now. Who knows what's going to happen, when he comes back, and what Rusev we're going to get. Speaking of, I want to know what's the deal with the one names, like getting rid of the first name and just calling him Rusev, or I think they were even trying, just saying Neville there for a bit.
Rusev, what's the deal of moving him out of Russia? Like, he moved back to Bulgaria. Okay, but why?
Because his Twitter handle never changed. It was always Rusev BUL. He was never.
First of all, I love the fact when he first came out, he was supposed to be like the Russian, this big Russian powerhouse, and then I think it was around the time Russia invaded Georgia, and then out of nowhere he started showing up with the Bulgarian flag. It's like, all right, he's Bulgarian now. And then he moved back to Russia, and now he moved back to Bulgaria. Make up your mind.
WWE doesn't want to offend anyone, and I bet they've probably got some sort of a large amount of shares coming out of Russia, so they're going to be very safe. I don't know. Is WWE Network there now?
It's possible. It's possible. I think it's everywhere. But I mean, this was actually literally my all-time least favorite, dumbest, the worst clickbait think piece I've seen, where there was a funny meme going around. Like when Rusev came out, he only beat the black wrestlers.
If you're about to quote the thing where they said, "Why is he only beating black wrestlers?"
It was a joke to where the black wrestlers themselves, I mean, pretty much the New Day, were making jokes about it themselves on Twitter. I mean, it was a running gag. Everyone thought it was funny. So, and someone put together a meme showing that, and they thought it was funny. And I think it was the Daily Beast who decided to write a serious think piece about it. It's like, oh, what's going on here? And I don't like it how they're going into politics and blah 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 blah. And the best part was like this. This is right after the owner of the Golden State Warriors. I think what's the Golden State Warriors?
Clippers.
The owner of the basketball player with the race.
Clippers.
The Clippers.
Yeah, Clippers.
There's actually a picture of Rusev at a Clippers game wearing a Clippers jersey.
In that same think piece, I think it was where they said, well, sure, they've put the title on The Rock, but he's not a real black guy or something like that. Like that was that. I remember that think piece very well, and it was always kind of confusing to me. But you know, I know that there are a lot of stories about racism in WWE and all that, but do we really need political think pieces behind it? Because it's WWE. If you're taking WWE really seriously, you need to take a step back. Incidentally, if anybody from WWE is watching or going to be watching this later, I do want to apologize to the WWE production worker that I almost ran over on Tuesday. I'm sorry, on Wednesday, the day after their event in Lafayette when they taped SmackDown. He was crossing the street, and he walked out on the road right as he was getting into eyesight, so I had to slow down a whole lot, and I was kind of upset. I don't think I said very nice things about him. But if you're that production worker or you know that production worker I'm talking about, please apologize for me. I'm sorry that I almost ran you over and called you several mean names. Incidentally, Raw is coming back to Lafayette, Louisiana in September, like halfway through September. I think I'm going to try to go to it. Of course, the last time they were here for a Raw, it was like the go-home show before an event. I can't remember which pay-per-view it was, but I'm going to try to get tickets this time. I should have gone to the SmackDown, but I didn't have money. And
I actually haven't gone to a show since I stopped getting tickets for free.
I haven't been to a show in 4 years. So 3 years maybe. So
the last show I went was WrestleMania in New Orleans. That was just to see the drunk wrestling fans, which, again, as I said last week,
is an event in and of itself.
To see a guy dressed up as SpongeBob with two hand grenades, which are two very alcoholic drinks, in either hand, and people around him chanting yes, yes, yes. And, of course, the Randy Savage thing where people were chanting for Randy Savage, a dude dressed up as Macho Man, came to the balcony on Bourbon Street and started throwing Slim Jims to the crowd. And that's just some of the good things. There was also the two gay guys dressed up as CM Punk and Fandango making out. That was a little weird.
It's like fan fiction come to life.
It was the worst of all fan fictions. And by the way, let me pull the screen back up on Brodigan. Brodigan, show your CM Punk as Jesus shirt. Let's just make sure that we now have 4 viewers, which is we doubled our record from last week. There's CM Punk as Jesus, which is a very appropriate shirt.
Let me show you the shirt I had last week, which I get.
It's all calves right now.
Yes. I thought my legs were white. Jesus, Brodigan.
Redbubble.com, the official T-shirt manufacturer of all things Brodigan.
Nice.
Over as fuck.
Nice.
I specifically got this for CPAC this year.
Fantastic.
I feel sort of touched by that, but not.
But you talk about the drunk to WrestleMania. I actually was that drunk. WrestleMania 18 at the Skydome, where I even almost got arrested twice as we were walking to the Skydome. Once was when I was crossing the street impersonating a traffic guard. And the other, and this was like, this has been a long running. For whatever reason, it doesn't matter if it's blogging or political activism or college or high school or just friends I've been in between. I always seem to run into a group of friends where not wearing pants is a running gag. So I decided, and I was going to bring a sign that said, "Hey, Canada, I'm not wearing any pants." And just to do that, I purposely got a pair of Canadian Maple Leaf boxers. So now, mind you, after drinking for 3 days straight, because a bunch of us got together and just took a couple days in Toronto. And after almost getting arrested crossing the street, like everyone's standing outside, I hold up my sign. Everyone's like, "Yeah," it's like you're lying. So then pants went down. I get in Maple Leaf boxer shorts, and I had 3 security guards chase after me.
Wait, you were wearing the boxer shorts? They still chased you?
Yeah.
That's essentially what Trish Stratus wore that year, wasn't it?
Yeah, but here's the thing, though. She's hot.
Yours weren't bedazzled. You needed to put some sequins on them. They would have been fine.
I do that now.
Live and learn. With age comes wisdom.
Yes.
I
bedazzle everything.
It took a lot longer than I thought. We got derailed to a pretty epic extent. So I'd like to thank you all for this. Last topic of the night. We've seen basically this. We've seen the ending of what I think could be the ending of Ambrose and Rollins, and we see the beginning of another feud with Reigns and Wyatt. What are some other things that you would like to see or you think are coming up, and do you think that the creative team can actually make it work? And this involves a little more than the automatic no that I know we all want to say. Do you think that what's coming down the line from WWE Creative could actually work? Tim?
I'm trying to figure out still what they're doing with Dean Ambrose. Is the Dean Ambrose Seth Rollins feud Raven Tommy Dreamer just modern day, where Tommy Dreamer never won a single match? He snuck in like one, but for the most part never won. And then they're trying to make him. Dean Ambrose is also supposed to be Stone Cold Steve Austin with these little crazy pop-ins once in a while. Even his music is sort of like the Steve Austin music. I want Dean Ambrose to win. I don't know what it is as a fan. Like it's a different generation. They do this PG era where they're trying to play to kids. I want to see Dean Ambrose win. I really just want. I understand they need to keep Rollins with the belt. Probably it's for Brock, isn't that the plan for right now?
I'm assuming, yeah, that would make sense as far as the past, and meeting up with everything. But I'm like you, yeah, I would like to see Ambrose win. I'd like to see him have a meaningful win, not a win that later gets reversed as a disqualification. A legit win would be fairly awesome for him.
This is literally the Tommy Dreamer Raven feud from ECW. Is what it is.
They've also run out of matches for them to have. I mean, they've had the Hell in a Cell. They've had the ladder match. I mean, unless they decide to bring back the Triple Cage of Doom.
War Games.
I would love them to do War Games.
Have the authority against someone in War Games.
Oh man, I'm for that.
I think it would be great. You could have you got a pile of guys that the authorities kept down. That would be actually a decent match. I never liked how War Games ended, but man, that would be fun. And have Dean Ambrose win it.
The thing, what's going to happen? We need Vince McMahon to die.
Yep.
As long as Vince McMahon is in charge, he refuses to have War Games. From what I understand, Triple H wants to, and I'm pretty sure that the day that Triple H takes over, the first thing he's going to do is book a War Games.
I think what would be great is if he introduced it at a takeover event. If Triple H just said, you know what, I'm writing NXT. Why don't we just do a War Games at an NXT takeover event? NXT takeover War Games. Let's do it. Let's make it happen. Come on, Trips. I know that you're for this.
Or what if you did NXT versus current roster guys in a War Game?
Oh, that would be fantastic.
That'd be fun.
It'd be almost like the ECW WCW takeover, and you need a Steve Austin type character to come in and beat everybody with a pool stick and make it seem like they have a fighting chance. There aren't enough pool sticks in WWE nowadays. Let's fix that. Let's bring back some of the.
We have to bring back the APA. We need people fighting in bars.
Exactly.
And people with fake offices that just have a standalone door with a sign on it. I loved that.
To this day, in the history of wrestling, that is my favorite wrestling gimmick.
It really is. It's great.
Because, the way it probably started was actually Farouk and Bradshaw drunk backstage one time with a door joking around, and someone said, something, we should actually do this.
I could see, like, Bradshaw yelling, office hours are closed, or something like that. They come back in 3 hours. Yeah, I just, what has happened? And that's what I don't understand, is what has happened with the writing over the past couple of years, where, like, they'll get something really hot, and then they'll just let it go, and something just inconsistent. Not to take it back to earlier conversation, but Who did you guys have picked to win Money in the Bank, the briefcase? I don't think we got into that.
Probably Roman Reigns, just because I didn't care about anyone in the fight.
I was expecting Roman Reigns. I was hoping for Neville or Ziggler. I'm a huge Ziggler fan. I think in terms of selling alone, there's nobody except for maybe Ambrose who's as good at selling something in the ring as Ziggler is, and I genuinely like his style. So I was hoping for him, but figuring on Roman Reigns. I had no idea why in the hell Sheamus was even in that match, much less coming out as the contract winner. And that just kind of blows my mind. I don't get it. I've even argued in the past in favor, and I know a lot of my friends were pissed at it, in favor of Lesnar over Undertaker. I got it. I was even, like I said, slightly in favor of it. A lot of folks complaining about the fact that Lesnar was a part-time world heavyweight or WWE world heavyweight champion. I was okay with that. I understood, or I figured I understood the logic behind it. I was okay with it. But this just absolutely blows my mind as far as Sheamus, who's been back all of 3 special events with one discernible feud, and that was with Ziggler, which was for nothing, and then all of a sudden he's a Money in the Bank contract winner.
Well, he had an exciting rebrand, I thought. Man, when they brought him back with this mohawk and the whole thing and the new entrance, that was exciting, and then they did nothing with it.
And then you remember that as Sheamus.
Yeah, and then, we know he's been cast as a character for Ninja Turtles movie. I mean, is he going to have to take a long break from WWE for that, or have they already filmed his parts? Or, I mean, what's the point behind?
I've seen a picture of him on the set, so I think they've already filmed it.
Huh. Well, now we have to see Sheamus as Rocksteady, which just kind of throws me for a loop anyway.
By the way, the best spot I've seen, and I should have brought this up earlier, the best spot I've seen on Raw or SmackDown in the past couple of months was R-Truth accidentally coming out to say that he was in the match on Monday.
That was actually funny.
That was extremely funny, and I think that goes kind of what we were talking about, that whole, the funny gimmicks that really work for the characters, like the office hours where it's just a door and a table in the back, and to have R-Truth as who perpetually plays the comedic relief very well. I missed the little Jimmy days with all of my heart. Those need to come back. But R-Truth does that part very well, and even if he never has another serious match again, I'm okay, because R-Truth is still a fantastic character who's just out there and wacky, and the whole stealing the Intercontinental title repeatedly, the fake title in the bag, I think was one of my favorite things I'd seen out of that one. So yeah, R-Truth coming out, and Kane saying, "Why are you even out here? You're not in the match." And then R-Truth like, "Oh, my bad," and walks out. That was just perfect.
That's on me. That's on me.
So let's see, in the few minutes we have left, what do you guys think is possible? What do you think is the best thing that WWE has going for right now, aside from NXT? Because we could talk about that for another 3 hours.
That's really about it. But how sad is it that they actually created competition to upstage them? That probably wasn't supposed to happen like that.
Yeah, NXT is. I actually subscribe to the WWE Network just to watch NXT. That's it.
Pretty much. I mean, the takeover events, I think, are my favorite events to happen, and I enjoy watching. I was more excited about that one than I was for Money in the Bank, and now I feel pretty justified in that. I think NXT is definitely one of the best things. But in terms of main roster, let's keep it to main roster type stuff. What do you think is the best thing that they have going for them right now? If it were my vote, I would say the tag team division actually being interesting again is, and the primetime players. We didn't even talk about that match. Primetime players getting the tag titles over New Day, which again, I like New Day as a team. I think their gimmick is awesome. Where they have that whole, and again, being the Southern guy type deal, the whole black preacher type deal, I think is a fantastic outlook for them and a fantastic character style for them. And I think Xavier Woods is he was up until then an entirely underused, and sadly very underused person. But the primetime players getting the belts, I think, was also a very good match for the night. And I think the tag team division overall is one of the best things the company has going for it on the main roster right now. Tim?
And if they were to rename, go back to his old name, Xavier Woods, and call him Consequences Creed, I'd love it. Like, that was my favorite when he was Truth and Consequences with R-Truth. I think that was his best. It was a really fun run back in the day in TNA. I agree with you. I like the tag team division. If they do something right with Kevin Owens and have him just continue to steamroll through things, let him win the Cena feud, and let him go through another, non-Big Show or not, a non-washed-up guy, like an actual relevant guy, I think that would be fun. If they put him up against, I don't know, maybe Dolph Ziggler or someone that's kind of fun to watch and watch him get bounced around, I think that would be great. But I think Kevin Owens in the tag team is fun right now.
Really, I know he used to know one NXT is maybe it's cheating, but really anyone that they call up from NXT.
That doesn't count.
Play by the rules, Brodigan. No Dusty finish here. Play by the rules.
It's my final tribute to Dusty. But the thing, all joking aside, with the exception of the Ascension, that's been my most entertaining part. I mean, the way that they brought in Kevin Owens, the way that they brought in Sami Zayn, the Lucha Dragons even got over. I am actually curious to see, what NXT wrestlers translate well, or if they don't translate well, can adapt to the main roster, because they're coming over, like they're coming into the organization like more popular than like 75% of the where the roster is right now. So I am looking forward to that. I'm looking forward to seeing what they have Cesaro do now that I was about to call him Billy the Kid. Tyson Kidd is probably going to be out for like a year. And we've got Brock Lesnar and Paul Heyman coming back, so I'm happy about that.
You know what I always hate is when NXT actually has a decent women's division and they're fun to watch.
This is what I don't understand about the Divas division, because I was actually shocked at how good the women's wrestlers are in NXT. Not that I'm shocked the women's wrestlers are good. It's just the ones that are good aren't wrestling on the main roster and haven't been wrestling on the main roster since Trish Stratus and Lita.
Mm-hmm.
It's always been about getting fitness models and training them to bump, and that's your Diva. Not even calling women. That's the Divas division. I mean, the fact that you could have multiple entertaining women's matches on a show, as opposed to just like and multiple feuds, as opposed to just like champion and title. But again, you guys said that we agree we couldn't use NXT.
Yep.
But yes, overall, the entire wrestling landscape, the NXT women's division is actually the thing I'm most excited for.
And that's the weird thing, because we joked about it earlier. The bathroom break was Big Boss Man. Now it's the Divas division. But if those NXT women get called up, then I think you actually get some interesting matches out there, which is weird because they've brought up good men's singles wrestlers and with the exception of Ascension, good tag teams out of there, good groups of guys out of there. The Wyatt family, the Shield, these guys get brought out of there. They're great groups. The Lucha Dragons, one of the most fun, I think, to watch, assuming that Sin Cara doesn't, botch, which is, 50-50 chance on any step he takes. Sin Cara is basically like Sin Cara botching is kind of like the Kevin Nash quad jokes you could come up with all night.
I never get tired of Kevin Nash's quad jokes, but no, this is actually the competent Sin Cara.
Yeah.
Yeah, this was the one who was dressed all in black or whatever during
Sin Cara Negro. He's Sin Cara Negro.
I see. We're a racially sensitive podcast, and so I don't want to actually say that. He was just the Sin Cara that was all in black.
No, he wasn't Sin Cara Negro. He was Sin Cara Negro. Spanish.
Still.
And Sin Cara Azul. Sin Cara Azul versus Sin Cara. What a hell of a feud that was.
This took a turn. Anyway, and again, still praying the Vaudevillains characters can make it to TV intact. Still one of my favorite gimmicks. Perfect for NXT, not going to survive on television. But if they just made one random joke appearance, that would be great. If they do another Elimination Chamber with tag teams, I hope they're like the joke tag team in there.
I would actually love if they came up and it's almost like the Kaientai gimmick with the thought dubbing, where you would see Kaientai in the backstage area, and they'd be voiced overs. I want to see the backstage area where anytime the villains are around, it goes to black and white, and there's old timey music playing in the background.
You know who I almost think is not going to do well in WWE is Enzo and Cassidy.
See, that's
I'm sorry, Colin Cassidy. I'm supposed to believe Colin Cassidy as a guy from Staten Island. Seriously, the other two make sense.
And the girl who can't stop, they're like, hey, just fluff your hair up as much as possible. She's so annoying to watch. That whole gimmick cannot work in WWE.
I actually disagree, unfortunately.
Oh.
I don't want it to.
I can see them being on the main roster now. Whether or not they actually work is to me is up in the air. But their whole gimmick, the speech and everything coming down the ramp, I'd love that. I love it, and you can tell that those fans love it too. If it translates to the big arenas,
SAWFD soft.
Doesn't work. So bad.
And actually, and almost speaking like that, I honestly want Blue Pants' theme music for my ringtone. Da 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 da.
They're singing the Price is Right theme. Isn't it a guy humming the Price is Right theme? And I just
I want that for my ringtone.
All right, let's wrap it up. We've actually gone over the hour mark now. So. Guys, thank you very much for coming on. Again, this is Joe Cunningham. You can find me on Twitter at Josie_Esquire. You can find my co-host, John Brodigan, at Brodigan. Very easy. And you can find Tim Young.
You know how many shows I've done? It's so amazing. I've done so many stand-up shows, and the host can't remember my name either. And I'm like, it's like the whitest name. It's like Joe Smith. I'm like 2 steps down. It's Tim Young, and nobody can ever remember my name. I'm so bland and white. Anyway, go ahead.
Actually,
you're welcome on the show anytime, as long as I have permission to hesitate on your last name. And you can find him on Twitter at Tim Runs His Mouth. I remember the Twitter handle and not your name.
I'm never offended.
And actually, quickly, Tim, don't you want our money?
Yeah, that's right. I'm doing a Kickstarter for the Right of Center Daily Show. That's going to be. I have about. I think, was it 20 days left? We're going to have a couple of big donations coming in, but we have about 1,000 of 6,000 that we're looking for. So you want to? I don't know how to send that out. I can just tweet it out. You can take a look at it. I'll have it everywhere. It's all over my Facebook. So take a look for that. The Right of Center Daily Show is going to be called "Here's the Thing" with Tim Young.
Fantastic. That is exciting news, and of course, perfectly acceptable to put on here because we are the Vast Right Ring Conspiracy, which I've now said twice on this show without screwing it up.
I screwed it up on my tweets.
It's cool. It was a joke name that became serious and is now sticking, and by God, it's going to stay that way as long as I have any power over this whatsoever. Thank you guys very much for the several viewers that we've gotten, which is strange. Thank you for tuning in, and next Sunday we will be back at, I guess, what is our regular time? Whatever we did it last week, which was...
Okay. Considering this is only our second episode, we don't really have a regular time per se. I think we're trying Sunday at 9.
Yeah, Sunday at 9 Eastern, 8 Central, and I think that's going to be our regular time, except for pay-per-view/special event nights, and we'll come on right after then. Thank you guys for checking us out, and we will see you again next week.